What's going on YouTube? Florida Man Knives here, and you can see I've got the Chris Reeve Large Sebenza 31 and S45VN. And in this video, I'm actually going to be talking about why I'm going to be selling this knife. So if you watched my unboxing video of this knife, you will know that this was my all-time Grail knife, lifelong Grail knife for over 10 years. And, I was unbelievably excited to unbox this. Don't know if I had ever been as excited to unbox a knife, to be honest with you, as I was for this one. But, now that I've had it for a couple of months, there are a few reasons why I'm going to be selling it. And I figured I'd make a video on it just to bring a couple points up in case, you might be considering one of these, and just I'm also curious to hear if anybody else has the same opinions. So before I do dive into this is not going to be titled a review, because I, to be honest with you, have not carried this knife. And that is one of the reasons why I'm going to be selling it. But there are reasons I have not carried it. So number one, as I stated, I have not carried it. It's kind of basically been a safe queen for me. And don't get me wrong, I would love to keep this in my collection for sure, just to look at if nothing else. But I frankly cannot afford to keep something that I'm not going to be using. At least not something that I've spent with my own money, especially not something that's going to be this expensive. And, with that, there are a few reasons, as I stated, why I have not been carrying it. So, the first reason, honestly, is just the way it opens. Now, I think the biggest reason for that is because of the thumb stud that I have on it. I know that they do have other thumb studs out there, but just, I don't know, the detent is very strong. Now this one's not broken in, so take that into account. I mean, I have been able to flick it open before. I'm not going to try it under camera here. But just the angle of it, I don't know, something about it. It's a very slim knife as well, so I find that I don't have a lot of surface area to grab onto. So, back here on the scale, a lot of times my fingers will be overlapping, so I'll have to pull them back. And it just, I don't know, like I said, the angle just doesn't feel super natural for me. And I think a lot of that is because the thumb stud is just very small. It comes to that fine point there, you can see, and it's just not the most easy to engage for myself. And, continuing on with opening the knife, even when I do go to flick the knife open, you can see right here that jimping and how the blade actually sticks up from the back of the frame. So, when I'm going to open this knife, I do have extra large hands, so maybe that plays a factor, I don't know. But right here, it actually generally hits my index finger the way I'm gripping it. So, if I'm opening it slowly, it doesn't really matter too much. I do feel it, but it definitely prevents me from being able to flick this knife open, because when I go to do so, it usually will hit my hand and the friction will cause the blade to stop. So there's that. Those are really my two biggest complaints as far as opening and closing the knife. Ergonomically, this is fantastic. I have zero complaints about it, especially for my hand size. I definitely would not like the small Sebenza, and probably would not like the small Nkosi either. But I mean, ergonomically, I have zero complaints. The way that they chamfered these edges down, if you will, super comfortable in hand. Definitely a great design, and I do like the blade being a little bit raised up here, perhaps because I'm so used to the thumb ramp from Spyderco's. But again, that does interfere when I go to open the knife. And the other big reason I have not been carrying this, to be honest with you, again, it doesn't feel natural to open, and I really have been carrying my Swish Bowie way more than it. You can see just such an effortless little flick of the thumb there, and this thing flies open. This thing is buttery smooth. I will definitely be doing a direct comparison video between these two knives, but if I'm going to be carrying a titanium frame lock, I found that it's going to be the Swish Bowie. Like I said, I'll be doing a direct comparison and be talking a little bit more about that. Overall, the pocket clip I don't have any complaints with. Again, I have not carried it, but functionally I slid it in my pocket once, and I mean, it works just fine. It carries pretty deep in the pocket too, which I definitely like. that was one of the things, I brought up earlier, the Strider SNG and the hinderers. That was one of the major reasons I never was interested in a Strider. Their pocket clips, start so far down on the knife. But again, my primary reasons I will be selling this is I just have not been carrying it. So that's the number one reason. Perhaps if I didn't have the Sleech Bowie, I would carry this knife a lot more. But just opening and closing it, perhaps it's because I fidget with my knives too. That could definitely be the case. If I were to, only need or only have one knife, this would definitely be fine for sure. And, take it out of your pocket, open it, cut, do whatever task you need to do, close it up, and it's good to go for the rest of the day. But, me being someone that does play with my knives, fidget with them, I really notice that this just does not feel super natural to me to open right here. There we go. It's starting to pinch my finger. That's just, the real big reason is it pinches my finger as I go to open it, and just the general geometry, or I don't really know the best way to describe it, but just the opening mechanism doesn't feel the most natural to me. So I don't like the thumb stud. I don't like how the blade pinches my hand. Perhaps it would be better if I were to somehow grip further back or loosen my grip up. Again, my fingers do get in the way here, but it's just the way I hold the knife, I suppose. And for how much this thing costs, I cannot justify keeping it around if I'm not going to be carrying it. So there you have it. Those are the reasons I'm going to be selling this thing. I know there are a lot of people out there that were very happy for me, to see this on the channel, and, just for my pure excitement to have this knife. And I still am very grateful to see those comments on my unboxing video. But, sometimes I guess a knife just doesn't quite live up to the expectations. And I really thought this knife would. Ergonomically, again, it's incredible. But just me personally, I don't like the way it opens. And, that's the reason I'm selling the knife. Again, perhaps if I didn't have the Sleech Bowie and I wasn't such a big Spyderco fanboy, my opinion would be different. But I am so used to the Spyderco geometry that just feels so natural. And I also really love the thumb hole. And am not a big fan of thumb studs in general, never have been. That didn't deter me from purchasing this knife, obviously, but I think if this had a different thumb stud on it, I would feel a little bit differently as well. So I think that's gonna wrap up this video. Again, this is why I'm selling the Chris Reeve Sebenza 31. And will I regret it? Probably. Again, this is, my lifelong Grail knife, but it is also, again, quite expensive. And I'm very happy that I was able to own one at a certain point, and who knows if I'll own another Chris Reeve knife again. There are so many other knives too out there at this price point from different manufacturers. Things have changed a lot in the past 5 or 10 years, and several brands, if I were to step up into this price point again, there are several brands I might be interested in, but I definitely do not see myself purchasing another knife that is this expensive anytime in the near future, at least. So, of course, there's no telling what the future holds. We'll see how the channel continues to grow. But I would love to hear what you all have to say in the comments below. If you, find that you have a similar opinion to mine on the Chris Reeve Sebenzas. Another thing I want to state too, well, first off, there we go. It was my middle finger that time that caught on the blade as I was going to open it. But what I was going to state is that as I handle this knife and fidget with it, naturally the muscle memory comes back and it becomes a little bit easier to open. But because I do rotate my knives and because I carry so many different Spydercos, I find that when I've been carrying different Spydercos for a week and then I pick this thing up, it just doesn't feel natural, as I stated. So I'm going to quit rambling here. Again, I would love to hear what you all have to say in the comments below. I will also, again, be doing a direct comparison between this and the Sleech Bowie. But that's going to be the conclusion for this video. And as always, I really appreciate you watching. Thanks.